Long before the dollar, the pound, or the euro, there was only trust. In the dawn of civilization, trade wasn't about profit. It was about survival. Farmers exchanged grain for meat. Potters traded cups for tools. Value was simple, direct, human. But as cities grew, trust became harder. How do you trade with a stranger from another land? How do you measure the worth of time, labor, and effort without knowing the other person's soul? The answer was money. At first, it was nothing more than metal, gold, silver, copper. But what gave it power wasn't the shine. It was belief. Belief that a stamped coin carried the same trust as the man who forged it. Belief that governments could guarantee value better than people could. This was the first transformation from personal trust to institutional control. And from that moment, humanity's relationship with value was forever changed. Money became a bridge, but also a chain. The rulers realized that whoever controlled money controlled the people. Kings began minting coins, not merchants. Taxes were collected in royal currency only, forcing every man, woman, and child into the new system. The birth of money wasn't about freedom. It was about control, disguised as convenience. And as we'll see, that illusion never left.
As empires expanded, money became too heavy to move. Caravans of gold attracted thieves. Empires couldn't march fast enough with their treasure, so they invented something revolutionary: the promise of money. Paper receipts, IOUs, banknotes. At first, they were simple claims to gold stored in vaults. But soon, those papers became the money. The merchants who issued these notes were the first bankers, and in time, they became more powerful than kings. In medieval Italy, the Medici family built a banking empire that funded wars, crowned popes, and bought kingdoms. In Amsterdam, the Dutch created the world's first central exchange and learned how to profit from lending what they didn't own. And in England, the creation of the Bank of England, 1694, forever changed history. Private bankers would lend money to the government and charge interest, creating a perpetual cycle of debt. Every empire since has followed the same formula. The throne may change, but the bankers remain. This was the second transformation, from ownership to obligation. Money no longer represented what you had, but what you owed. The system was no longer about wealth creation, but debt management. The kings thought they controlled the bankers, but over time, the bankers controlled the kings.
By the 19th century, money had taken its final physical form, the gold standard. Every note, every coin, every promise was backed by gold. It was supposed to bring stability, a guarantee that money had meaning. But it also created a new kind of trap. Only those who owned gold, nations, empires, banks, could decide the fate of everyone else. If gold was scarce, money tightened. If gold was hoarded, economies starved. And when wars broke out, the first casualty was always the truth behind the currency. Britain ruled a quarter of the planet under the gold standard. Its navy controlled the seas, and its currency, the pound sterling, became the world's first global reserve. But this power came at a cost. Colonies like India, Africa, and the Caribbean were forced to trade resources for paper, backed by gold they'd never see. Gold flowed into London's vaults, while poverty spread across the world. And yet, people believed this was prosperity. When the United States adopted the same system, it inherited the illusion. But by the 20th century, even America realized you can't fund empires, wars, and dreams with finite gold. So in 1971, the gold link was broken, and humanity entered a new era, the age of infinite money. Gold had once symbolized discipline, but now it revealed desire. Desire for power, growth, and endless expansion. The chains were invisible, but they were still there. The golden trap had simply changed its shape. The 20th century began with paper dreams. No longer was money metal, it was ink and promises. Governments told their citizens, "Your wealth is safe with us." But behind the paper curtain, something darker was happening. The paper note, once a receipt for gold, had become the product itself. It was no longer tied to real value. It was tied to debt. Banks realized they could lend more money than they possessed. $10 of deposits could become $100 of loans. Each loan created new money from nothing. And every dollar owed meant profit for the lender and servitude for the borrower. This was the fractional reserve system, a system that turned scarcity into abundance and abundance into illusion. People believed they were getting richer. In reality, they were digging deeper into the pit. Every mortgage, every student loan, every credit card was another invisible chain forged in paper and signed in ink. It was brilliant. It was efficient. It was slavery with a smile. And as debt expanded, so did control. You didn't need armies when you could own people's time. You didn't need kings when you could mint money from debt. The empire of paper didn't conquer nations, it bought them. While the world fought wars, another empire quietly took shape. One not of armies or kings, but of central banks. In 1913, the Federal Reserve was born. Its purpose to stabilize the economy. But in truth, it centralized control of money into the hands of a few. Now every dollar printed was a loan, owed back with interest, and every government, no matter how powerful, became a debtor. The same model spread worldwide. The Bank of England, European Central Bank, Bank of Japan, all part of a silent network that managed currencies like strings in a puppet show. These institutions didn't just print money, they controlled the price of time itself. By adjusting interest rates, they could make nations boom or bust. Raise the rate and millions lose homes. Lower it and billions rush to borrow again. The cycle of boom and bust became their symphony, and humanity, the audience, applauded, never realizing who conducted the orchestra. Every empire in history had priests to guard its religion. In our time, the priests wear suits and speak in economic prophecy. They call it monetary policy. But what it truly is control. If taxation is visible theft, inflation is invisible, a silent erosion that robs without permission, without awareness. Every time a government prints new money, it steals a fraction of everyone's savings without ever taking a coin. In Rome, emperors diluted silver with copper. In modern times, politicians dilute money with zeros. The result is the same. Bread costs more, but tastes less like hope. Inflation rewards debt and punishes discipline. Those who save lose. Those who borrow thrive. And the working class, the builders, the dreamers, the believers are trapped in a race they can never win. The rich own assets that rise with inflation. The poor hold cash that melts away. It's not a flaw in the system, it is the system. Work hard, save money, buy a house. But the truth is, the system was never built for savers. It was built for borrowers. Because debt is the fuel and inflation is the fire. Inflation looks like prosperity. The numbers grow, the GDP shines, but the reality decays. The empire celebrates progress even as it burns. When the chains of metal were broken, new chains were forged, made not of iron, but interest. Modern slavery doesn't require whips or prisons.
It requires signatures and credit scores. Debt is the greatest invention of social control ever conceived. It makes people obedient, predictable, and endlessly busy. A young student borrows for education, believing it's freedom. A family borrows for a home, believing it's stability. A nation borrows for progress, believing it's growth. But all become prisoners of the same system, serving a master they never see. Every paycheck, every tax, every dream deferred feeds the machine. And the beauty of it? The slaves think they are free. We were taught that debt is normal, that everyone owes someone. But debt is not natural. It is engineered dependency, a mechanism designed to keep the masses chasing coins while the architects collect empires. The tragedy of the modern age isn't poverty, it's illusion. Billions toil for paper wealth, while real freedom fades into myth.
As technology advanced, money evolved once again, becoming pure information. The paper disappeared, the promise remained. We entered the age of digital currency. Every transaction could now be tracked, traced, and timed. Every purchase recorded, every movement monitored. They called it convenience, instant payments, borderless freedom. But freedom that can be turned off is not freedom. It is conditional permission. When cash dies, privacy dies with it. And when privacy dies, so does choice. Digital money is programmable, meaning it can decide what you buy, when you buy, or even if you can buy. A world where compliance is currency and dissent is bankruptcy. We have traded liberty for efficiency, and in doing so, we have built the perfect prison, one where the bars are invisible and the locks are algorithms. The new rulers don't need armies, they need code.
History teaches one truth. Every empire of control eventually collapses, because illusion cannot outlast reality. There is hope, not in politics, not in promises, but in re-education and reconnection with real value. Real value is not paper or digits or interest. It is time, skills, community, truth. When people understand money, truly understand it, they see the chains, and once you see them, you can break them. Freedom begins with awareness. Save not in what inflates, but in what endures. Invest not in systems that enslave, but in those that empower. Gold, knowledge, creativity, community. These are the currencies of the free. The financial system wants you to fear collapse, but collapse is not the end, it is the reset of truth. The question is not, how did money become a trap? The real question is, will you stay in it? The system is powerful, but awareness is stronger. And history, the ultimate time capsule, reminds us, every illusion, no matter how grand, eventually shatters in the light of truth.